What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be making a video that I kind of want to make for a while, and it's going to be me talking about my eating disorder, or like body dysmorphia, or what I dealt with trying to get in shape and getting in shape and how it all happened. So yeah, let's just get into it. There's a couple of reasons why I wanted to make this video. First off, I just wanted to get my story out there, let people know what I went through, but more importantly, trying to help people so they don't make the same mistakes I do, or if they're in the middle of making the mistakes I did, to not do it because it was not fun. Alright, so let's just jump into the very beginning. So, ever since I can remember, I was overweight. I was never fat, but I was never like the skinny kid either. Even though I played sports and hockey, football, I was pretty active, but I was always overweight. I think the number one reason why that is because my family's a really big like food family. So if there's like any get-togethers, birthday parties, anything like that, a celebration, it's always food oriented. There's always way too much food. And it's not unhealthy food, just the quantities of it is absolutely crazy. So, and you're always told like, oh, go get seconds, oh, go try this, go try that. So it's just always an abundance of food, which for me led to being overweight most of my life, because I was always told to finish my plate, and I would always finish my plate, and my appetite would just skyrocket. Even though I was quite active, I was eating more calories than I was burning, so at the end of the day I was just gaining weight. So speaking of family get-togethers, where the one turning point I remember is I think it was Christmas of 2018 or 2019, after a day of drinking a lot of shit, a lot of soda, eating a lot of shit. I went to the bathroom and I just stepped on the scale just because I was curious. I haven't weighed myself in like months at that point. So I just stepped on the scale, wanted to see what it was. And at 5'5", I was 180 pounds, which was the heaviest I ever was. And that number stuck with me because I remember my dad at that time, he's I think 5'8", 5'9". He was talking about how he hit 180 and that was the heaviest he's ever been in his life. So being a couple inches shorter than him and being a lot younger than him, I was seeing that number on the scale really hit hard, and right then and there I told myself like I had to make a change, because I knew nobody was going to do it for me, and if I was going to continue to eat like shit and eat like garbage, then I was just going to get fatter, and I was going to basically hate myself even more. Like, I grew up not liking the way I look. Still not a huge fan, but we're getting there. So I knew if I wanted to end up liking the way I look, I have to make a change, because nobody's gonna do it for me. So that being said, going into grade 12, I surrounded myself with not the best group of people. I got into vaping, smoking weed, and smoking cigarettes heavily. And when I did that, it took my focus off of food, because well, one, I was always just out smoking, getting high, and two, it really blunted my appetite, so I didn't really eat that much. So I think around that time I was 160, 150 pounds, and that wasn't like doing any cardio, any weights or anything. That was just simply not eating. Even though I dropped a decent amount of weight, I still wasn't happy with the way I looked, because I'll throw a picture up on the screen. I'll throw pictures up on the screen, but I was basically skinny fat at that time, had no abs, and my whole life I always wanted abs, and that was the goal I set for myself, which in hindsight probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. But yeah. So, and about like during this time, I would sometimes go to the gym. I would do like only 40 minutes of cardio, 40 to an hour of cardio. I would go upstairs, do weights, maybe 15 minutes. I had no idea what I was doing, just basically dick around the whole entire time. So yeah, I basically just went to the gym, did an hour of cardio. I wouldn't even count lifting weights, and I did that 6 or 7 days a week. I did that for a few months, and I cut down to, I believe, 135, 140-ish. And then, once you know it, I think in April, COVID hit. So what did I do? I bought dumbbells, I bought some bands, and I bought a bench, and I started working out at home because I had nothing else to do. And like I said before, I always played sports, so I wanted to do something active to just keep myself busy. Around this time, this is the time I came across people like Anthony Mantello, Chris Bumstead, James English, Lexx Little, a bunch of fitness influencers that I started to follow, and I wanted to emulate their physiques, which once again is not the smartest thing to do. I was comparing myself to them, not comparing myself to myself. They had years on me, but I had no idea. I was just looking at what they looked like and wanted to emulate that. Also this time I came across Fouad Abiad and his podcast, and I learned a lot about bodybuilding. I wish I implemented a lot of what him and his friends said, because that would have fast-tracked me. Like, I wouldn't have wasted a year doing what I did, but we'll get into that. Also around this time, I found the man himself, Coach Greg Doucette, and I followed a lot of his videos and advice because he was at that time, he was very weight loss oriented. He's way different than he is now. Back then, he was way more blunt, straight to the point, no fucks given type deal. And he would say, the one thing I remember him saying is that if you don't have abs, you're fat. And I didn't have abs simply because I didn't train them. I'll throw pictures up on screen. I was pretty lean, but I didn't have a defined six-pack. So my thought process was, if I get leaner, I'll have a six-pack, which has been my goal from the beginning. So that's exactly what I did. So along with doing cardio, I would follow anabolic recipes, and I would eat maybe twice a day. I would wake up, I would fast in the morning, I would have a couple cups of coffee to blunt my appetite. I would have a 2-liter jug like this. I would fill it with EAAs or Mio and just drink that all morning to blunt my appetite and make myself feel full. And then I would take even more caffeine. I would take pre-workout. I would go to the gym, train fasted, have a shit workout obviously because I had no food in me. Then I would come home, I would eat this famous anabolic French toast. It'd be like 450 to 600 calories depending on how I made it that day. And then I would keep myself busy throughout the day. I would hang out with friends. I would go to my girlfriend's house. And I would come home around maybe 10, 11, 12 at night. I would eat another anabolic meal. It would always be Remington James's brownie. I'll throw a video up on screen. 600 calories, 500 calories max. I'd eat that, go to bed, and rinse and repeat that for months on end. And then I finally got down to 120 pounds. Lean as shit, as you guys can see, but no fucking muscle mass whatsoever. I had nothing to me. I would, one gust of wind and I would just blow away. But I thought I was shredded. I thought I looked good because that's what body dysmorphia does to you. So talk a little bit about gym performance. My lifts in the gym never went up for as long as I was dieting. I was benching, I think 70 on the Smith machine for months and months. I couldn't progressive overload because I would have no food in me to train harder, especially with doing cardio. I forgot to mention, in the morning while I was fasting and drinking those coffees and EAAs, I would go on an hour to an hour and a half walk every morning to take my mind off of food and off of eating, to just keep myself busy, because if you're out of the house, you can't eat. So I would do that to curb my appetite, or basically force myself to not be able to eat any food, which is not good. Don't do that. So I draw it down. My lowest weight ever was, I believe, 118, if I remember correctly. I would always hover a couple pounds around 120 pounds. So maybe 118, 122, 123, around there. I maintained that weight for, no joke, 10 months. My weight did not go up at all. I never went above 125 for 10 months because I watched Greg Doucette and he said Maingaining. Like I said, I'm not blaming him. Now he's more vocal about how you need to not be 6% body fat to Maingaining. You need to have some fat on you to do that. But I thought I could Maingaining at 6% body fat, or whatever percent that is. And honestly, I felt like shit. Every single day I felt like garbage. I had no energy to do anything. I had no drive to go to the gym. I just did it just because it was routine. I had like no sex drive whatsoever. My sleep was fucking horrendous every night. I had to take melatonin, like 20 milligrams just to fall asleep and stay asleep. I had to go back to smoking weed at night just to be able to fall asleep. Like, it was absolutely terrible. I remember this one time vividly. Me and my girlfriend went out of town to go shopping because we live in a small town. There's not really much to do here. And I remember walking around the mall for 2 hours, and those 2 hours was like the longest 2 hours of my life. I could barely keep walking. I could barely keep my eyes open. I literally felt like death, and that was no cardio, no anything. I literally just walked around the mall and shopped for 2 hours, and I was so depleted of food and just so lean that I could hardly even do that for 2 hours. I laugh about it now, but it's kind of terrible, and like looking back on it, I can't believe that I did that. That's insane. So then comes, I think, February of 2022. I became way more focused on bodybuilding. I knew I wanted to compete just because I missed being in sports. I missed having a goal to work towards. So I really started focusing more on the hardcore bodybuilders like Fuad, John Meadows, Chris Bumstead, Ian Valair, Anthony Mantello. And they all said, you gotta eat big to get big, which some people will argue against. But in my case, I definitely had to eat. But I was like scared of becoming that fat kid again. So I knew what I had to do. I just wasn't doing it. And I needed someone to give me a kick in the ass and wake myself up. And thankfully, that's exactly what happened. So during that time, there is this local bodybuilder that goes to my gym. He saw me there for months on end, not progressing, not gaining weight, being stupidly shredded for no reason. And one day he finally came up to me and he asked me if he could work with me. And I said, yeah, 100%. I gave him my phone number. He called me, I think, the next day, had a long talk about where I started, how I got down to this weight, what I'm eating, how I'm training, this, that, and everything else. And he said he would take me on as a client for free. He took me on for absolutely nothing, which is still crazy to me. He wrote me a diet and training plan. He sent it to me, I think, within 2 days. And he worked with me meticulously and closely for months and months and months. I just stopped working with him, I think, a few months ago. And that's because I have a coach that I'm actually paying for, but we'll get into that. But yeah, he worked me up from, I think we started with 1,600 calories, and he slowly worked me up to 3,000, tracking my weight, doing weekly check-ins with me, asking how I'm feeling, like looking for foods that help me out, explaining how food is beneficial and how I need to eat. And he just completely changed the way I saw food and saw training and everything else like that. And honestly, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be where I am now. And honestly, it sounds cheesy, I'll forever be grateful for what he did to me. Mike Wheeler, shout out, bro. Honestly, one of the best guys I know, and I couldn't have made the progress I've made so far without you. So yeah, I owe you big time, homie. So like I said, we worked up to 3,000 calories. We went from 118 pounds to 165 pounds, which is absolutely crazy. I didn't think like I would ever, but that number wasn't even in my mind. I just tried for so long to maintain at 120. Having a goal of seeing the scale weight go up was brand new to me, and even though I know I had to do it, every time I would step on the scale and be 125, 128, 130, it would just keep going up. I would be so scared I would turn into that fat kid again, but I was so just dedicated to the task at hand, and I didn't want to let him down. I didn't want to waste his time, so I stuck with it no matter what. Stuck with the diet, stuck with the training. If I was going on a road trip, I packed food. If I was going to my friend's house, I packed food. I wouldn't miss a workout. I wouldn't miss anything. I was just 100% dialed in. And as you can see, I don't really have any pictures of shirtless pictures of me after I started to put on weight, just because, like I said, I still struggle with body dysmorphia a little bit, and it's hard to see yourself gain weight after being so lean for so long. Especially for me, I hold most of my fat in my abdominal region and lower back, so I feel like if my abs get a little bit washed out, I feel like a fat piece of shit. But that's something I still gotta work on. I know that's something I gotta work on. I know weight gain is normal and natural, especially at the weight I am. I could not have sat at 120 pounds forever. Like, most of the females I know weigh more than that, so I knew I had to put on weight, and I knew I had to make a change. And that's exactly what I did. And even though I'm still not as shredded as I was, my lifts are crazy better than they were now. Like, I can't even like compare to what I was doing back then to what I am now. It was just night and day difference. But like I said, I'm no longer working with Mike. No bad blood at all. He just doesn't do it full time. So I'm currently working with Axel Lopez on Team Sunrise, and right now we're up to 170 pounds, which is probably the heaviest I've been. Considering the heaviest I ever was 180 pounds, like I said before. That was with a day of eating like shit and drinking. So my morning weight was probably 170 pounds, which I look completely different than what I did back then. Let me just tell you that right now. So yeah, we have a show picked out for fall of 2023, and that's the goal right now. Just keep on eating, keep on pushing food, push training. We're trying not to get too sloppy, just maintain a decent level of body fat, good body composition in order to grow for the next year, and then to cut down and get stage ready for my show next year in the fall. So yeah, that leads us to today. That's the end of my little story time type thing, if you want to call it that. So if I'm gonna leave you guys with any last piece of advice, it would just be to compare yourself to yourself. Don't look at all the fitness influencers online or even the people at your gym and try to emulate what they look like, because most of the time you can't, unfortunately. The best thing you can do is to just try to be the best version of yourself possible. Try to be better than you were yesterday, a week ago, a month ago, last year. Like, honestly, whatever, doesn't matter. Just try to be better than you were. Do it smart, do it safe, make sure you're eating enough. Make sure you're eating enough so you can actually train hard and make progress. And honestly, don't starve yourself to get abs. It's honestly not worth it. I gain more muscle and I get way more compliments in the gym and outside of the gym now that my six-pack is a kind of faded four-pack than I ever did when I was 118 pounds with a defined six-pack, but I look like a strong gust of wind would blow me over. So yeah, I'm just gonna end it here. I hope you guys took something away from this, and if you guys are going through what I went through or are struggling with an ED or body dysmorphia, that just know it happens to a lot of people. Most guys don't talk about it. It's mainly focused on, I'm not saying this in a bad way, but a lot of times when it's spoken about females dealing with it. The male population doesn't really talk about it, or it's not really known that much, especially in bodybuilding and teenage bodybuilding. So yeah, I hope you guys can take something from this, learn something from this, and maybe find a coach that will take you under the wing for free, because honestly, they changed my life for the better. So yeah, I appreciate you guys listening. If you guys like this video, I would appreciate if you guys just like leave a like, maybe leave a comment, subscribe. I'm gonna be trying making more of these. Not doing it for clout, I'm just doing it simply because I like it. I want to document my journey, because it's gonna be a long one, and hopefully inspire people like me that would just surf YouTube and try to find teenagers like myself wanting